team?
Well, the consistency of our staff that's been together, knowing each other, and it's the repetitive, keeping things simple, and everybody knows how to adjust the defense that we have. And I think that as the kids grow and we treat everybody the same as far as how to approach what we're expecting, what our standard is as a defense, and we try not to fall off of that. I mean, we have goals and things like that, but it's the way a guy goes out. You don't want to get beat on mental errors. You got to understand your leverage. I think leverage is a big part of the game, and we play this thing here with your eyes and your feet. I think to get kids to understand what they're seeing and how they got to react to it is something that you constantly go over. During the springtime and now going through the first, 8 practices, I think it's been really good to see these guys consistently. They know it. We can go back, 5 years, you can go back 10 years and see the same kind of defense that we've been playing for a while. So there's not a lot that we haven't seen. So we should by now have some answers and just our expectations of what we're trying to ask our kids to do. And we're not trying to have everybody be a superstar or anything like that. Just make sure you take care of your job, know what your job is and what you have to do. And it's basic alignment keys and responsibility on every play. And our philosophy has always been is not to give up the big plays. Because if you can keep those big plays down to a minimum, then you got a chance to keep them guys out of the end zone. It's hard to drive the ball, 7 or 8 plays and score. So, we might take a different philosophy instead of blitzing all the time, but that's been our philosophy for a long time, and it's been helpful. And I really think it's been, we play a lot of too high, and we do a really good job up front with our D-line and our linebackers to help us out to eat up all those gaps in there. So that's been the tradition around here. And, what our expectations to go out there, effort, toughness, what are we? Consistent. That's our whole thing. Be consistent.
Phil, you know what you got in Coop, and you know what you got with Jamari. What have you seen development-wise from the backup set at corner right now?
Well, I think I see Deshaun Lee. I think he's done a really good job. I think Diaz Fernandez has stepped in and showed some promise, some things. Flipping him inside also as a star. Devin Hilson. We got obviously T.J. Hall. He's really made a big jump of being more confident. So, he's probably the third guy.
Okay.
And then these other guys are competing where they have a chance. And that's all you want to do is make sure that every day of actually the guys that we're doing practice, are they doing what we're asking them to do? And I've seen a lot of improvement for the first 8 days, but we've got a long ways to go before the first game. And hopefully they make another couple jumps before we end this, preseason here.
You mentioned Hilson. What stood out, I guess, about moving him to running back, or moving him from running back, was the best move for him, and how has he kind of, started to weave his way into the rotation there?
The one thing about it, he was on our scout team that we played against him all year last year, and so I seen some qualities in him as I thought he has a great competitive attitude, and he's a tough kid. When you're playing running back against us, and you have, Jack Campbell, Seth Benson, and you had Van Ness and all the guys up front, and take a beating on him, and he didn't back away from it. So I did like the toughness that he brought as a guy. Now, obviously playing a different position, playing a cornerback, there's a lot more things you have to do, and I think he's really improved from the springtime until now. Of his movement has really been a lot better, and his understanding. I'm not expecting him to know everything right away, but hopefully here in the next 10 days he can get out there and make sure he can function. But I like what he's doing.
Is that a natural transition? I feel like it's not. Running back to DB, does that happen a lot?
I think football. Bob Sanders was a running back. Obviously, it was hard for him to switch over to be a defensive back because he wasn't going backwards as a running back. So, to see the progress that Bob made. I'm not saying everybody's going to be like Bob Sanders, but I think football is football, and if you have the ability, he played defense before, probably in high school. So I think both things. If you're a football player, the game is a lot about, how leverage. You got to use your eyes. You got to diagnose plays. You got to be able to move your feet, stay on your feet. You got to change directions, and then you got to be mentally tough and physically tough, which I think he has.
Coach, do you take pride in seeing a guy like a Lucas Van Ness and Jack Campbell, just 3-star guys who want to come in, learn your system, play your system, and develop into top-tier NFL players? How much pride do you take in seeing that happen?
Well, I think a lot of our coaches, this is basically all we want our kids to do is we want to make sure that we can coach our kids and make sure that they reach their full potential, whatever that is. And if we don't do it as coaches, I believe that sometimes we think we failed, And a lot of kids sometimes when you are coaching them sometimes to take offense and say, hey, coach, I made that play, that was a good play. Yeah, but